Before we move on to Michigan, we're going to do Michigan, and then we're going to take a short break, and then Jim will bring us back with Georgia and possibly a recess if we're good. So Michigan, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Where's the clicker? My name is Curtis Tertel. I am the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. We first just want to say that we are honored to be requesting to be moved into the early window. I want to be clear that that is a request, not a demand. I also want to be clear that we understand why this committee has that power. We think it's important. And we are also not asking you to change the schedule of when you make decisions or anything else. That is this committee's prerogative, and we appreciate your service on this committee. I want to introduce our panelists real quickly. Laura Dickerson, the UAW Vice President. Joe Gutowski, the Michigan Rural Caucus Chair. And Shanae Watson-Whitaker, Reproductive Freedom for All Director of Michigan Campaigns. We believe that early voices make strong choices, that Michigan is a battleground state representative of the diversity of our country, and that Michigan is America.
This is Michigan, the best place in the country to see what America really looks like. This is the state that built the middle class and put the world on wheels, where Motown and melodies inspired movements, where courage gives way to progress and hard work gives way to opportunity. Michigan is America, embodying the political, racial, and geographic constituencies that will be key to winning the presidency. As the most diverse battleground state, Michigan is home to some of the country's largest populations of Black, Latino, Jewish, Asian American, Native American, and Arab American voters. We're home to a booming agriculture industry, farmers from both peninsulas carrying on the work of generations of Michiganders to support their communities. And of course, we're proud to be the motor capital of the world, where union workers, engineers, and innovators are building the future of advanced manufacturing, batteries, and electric vehicles. From our healthcare system to our world-class public universities to our defense industry and so much more, Michiganders are on the front line of every sector and every problem. We have been ranked the #1 state for automotive R&D, the #1 state for clean energy investment, a top 5 state for entrepreneurship, and a top 10 state for doing business multiple years in a row. What's more, this is a state where elections are played by the rules, where we have fair maps and strong election security, where volunteers can afford housing, food, and groceries thanks to our low cost of living. And because we're fixing the damn roads, they can get in a made-in-Michigan vehicle and drive from Kalamazoo to Detroit to Saginaw in record time. And unlike other states, there's no singular dominant media market that holds back campaigns with fewer resources. Michigan is the state where you can find democracy in action, where voters have choices, real choices. The road to the White House runs right through our state. Because Michigan is not just any battleground state, it's the ultimate battleground state. This is the state that looks like America. From our teachers and small business owners to our union workers and researchers, from our rural communities and bustling urban centers. There is no one way to be a Michigander, but we all have something in common. We work hard, we want the best for each other, and we all want to win. This is America, the best of America. This is Michigan.
So for us, it's really comes down to very simple. We are the battleground state that is the most diverse in the country and looks like America. Every investment in Michigan is important to winning the general election. We have one of the strongest state parties in the country. We have Project 83, which is a full-time organizing program that organizes on the ground throughout the country all year long and makes sure that our county parties are strong. We actually reopened Iron County, Michigan and Mount Morency, Michigan that didn't have county parties for more than a decade last year. I was in a bar in Iron County, Michigan with 50 people ready to do the work to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. You have to drive through Wisconsin, by the way, to get to Iron County. So It's important that we are the most racially diverse battleground state. When you're looking at that, but it's not just racially. We are the most politically diverse, geographically diverse, the diversity of crops that we have in our agriculture, the diversity of industries and labor. We are the state that put the world on wheels, and we also feed the world. Michigan is made up of people who make things and grow things. It's incredibly important to who we are. There are very few states that represent the entire political spectrum of what the Democratic Party is. Michigan is one of them. We're the most diverse battleground state in the country. We look like America. And when you see the diversity and wealth of experience across America, both racial, political, geographic, and agricultural, industrial, and economic, Michigan is America, and we ask that to be put in the early window. And I will turn it over to Laura Dickerson from the UAW.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is exciting, right? Let's get excited about this. We're excited about Michigan, right? So my name is Laura Dickerson, and I have the proud honor of serving as Vice President of the International Union UAW. I direct our UAW Ford department, as well as our Agricultural Implement department. Yes, I have John Deere, Caterpillar, and Case New Holland. I'm also excited about that as well. I represent tens of thousands of workers across the United States, and that's an honor to be able to do that. But what really comes to mind is Michigan, right? And so as a proud Michigander, I can tell you Michigan's economy reflects the nation's economy. From auto workers at the historic Ford Rouge complex, building the best trucks in America, to mom and pop small business owners. From healthcare workers taking care of our loved ones, to farmers and farm workers working the apple and cherry orchards, Michigan has it all. Michigan put the world on wheels. Yes, we did. And we're very proud of that, very proud of our auto industry in Michigan. We made sure the workers who made that possible had dignity and fair wages. We built not only cars, but a middle-class life for all working people in our state. Michigan has set an example. When strong unions fight for our workers and our elected leaders have our backs, like when President Biden made history as the first sitting president to visit an active picket line during the victorious stand-up strike in 2023. And I also had the honor at that point to stand next to him because I was the director of Region 1A at the time. And so that was a great moment in our history to have a sitting president come and join us and have our backs. That's a sharp contrast to this past January when President Trump visited the Ford Dearborn truck plant. And I'm sure a lot of people saw me on the news because it played over and over, because T.J. Sabula famously told Mr. Trump exactly what he thought of him. We witnessed what the current president thinks about working people. Unbelievable, right? With a crude gesture and an attempt, not just an attempt, multiple attempts to get him fired. But one thing is good for TJ, and that's he has a union. I served as his vice president and wanted to make sure that he kept his job, and TJ still has his job to this day. So no one is getting fired for speaking truth to power. In Michigan, workers don't just protect our rights, we exercise them. Working people are eager to engage in a conversation about our future. Michigan is the heart of the American auto industry and the heartbeat of the middle class. But Michigan is more than just auto. Michigan is at the cutting edge of future mobility and industry, made up of incredibly talented people who make, grow, build, and innovate, from engineers to entrepreneurs, from tech workers to medical researchers, and yes, we have proud union members in every sector. And don't forget, Michigan's economy reflects our diversity, with 50,000 Black-owned businesses located in Detroit alone. The agricultural implement workers I represent in places like Iowa and Illinois benefit from supplying construction equipment as Michigan continues to, as our current governor would say, fix the damn roads. And we also have forestry equipment to our timber industry rooted in northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. And I just want to give a shout out to our agricultural industry in Michigan. We represent workers who build farm equipment for our nation's farmers, and a lot that goes to support the 46,000 farms in Michigan who contribute over $100 billion to the economy. $100 billion, from cherries to chestnuts. And if you can find it at your local farmer's market, Michigan's got it. Michigan grows more agricultural crops than any other state except California. That's something, because I just told you I have Ag Imp. I just left Iowa, by the way, and we have more crops than Iowa. That's something to be proud of. Agriculture is Michigan's second largest industry, supporting 1 in every 4 jobs and making sure there's food on the table. Our economy and our people are diverse, and they're eager to be in the conversation with Democrats. Let me say that again, Democrats, who want to put forward a vision of America that we can see for ourselves. Thank you. Now we'll turn it over to Shanae.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I'm a former New Yorker, some of y'all know, and I now live in the city of Detroit. So when we address people in the city of Detroit, we say, "What up, doe?" So I'm going to say, "What up, doe?" to you, and then you'll respond to me. What up, doe? What up, doe? What up, doe? What up, doe? Thank you so much. I feel at home now. So I'm going to talk about the demographics of Michigan and our coalition in the state and how we are the framework of America. And I just want to talk about how, we're home of several groups of voters throughout the state, whether it's city folks, suburban, exurban, and rural voters. And they've contributed to the democratic gains across the state, from Kalamazoo to Lansing to Grand Rapids to Traverse City. Michigan is home to the past, present, and future of strong labor organizing, as you just heard from Laura. Do you know that nearly 700,000, and I'm going to repeat that, 700,000 Michiganders are represented by unions? And when including retirees, that's 1 million people. Our union members are police, firefighters, library workers, nurses, plumbers, educators, iron and steel workers, longshoremen, stagehands, clerical workers, librarians, and much, much more. I want to also talk about what we've done in Michigan. In 2018, a resounding 67% of majority of voters, including majorities out of 83 counties, voted for a proposal to secure important voting reforms in the state. And building on the progress of the 2018 victory, voters overwhelmingly approved, with about 60% of the vote, voting rights proposal safeguarding votes, and that increased access to the ballot box, that allowed for early voting in our elections. It provided prepaid postage for permanent absentee voters and whatnot. And then what I'm most proud of as the former deputy campaign manager, in 2022, voters overwhelmingly approved Proposal 3, which enshrined abortion into our state constitution. And we were the first to do that. Thank you for the applause. And I'll say this as people see that, they don't see a black woman behind that. They think of it as a white issue. And here I am, a black woman from the Bronx, coming to Michigan, a state that adopted me, and we passed that ballot initiative overwhelmingly. So when you think of that and what we passed in 2022, after that, we knew we had more work to do with our governor. She had signed a bill that ended the 1931 abortion ban in our state, and this victory also led to our trifecta. So we had not only the governor's race, we had the state senate, and we also had the state house as well. So when we talk about Michigan being America, we talk about no absentee voting, no reason absentee voting, in-person early voting, and same-day voter registration. We talk about West Michigan's, what's going on in our state and our 46,000 farms, which contribute over $100 billion to Michigan's economy. From cherries to oh my God, I read the wrong thing. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, y'all. It's like, I know that didn't sound right. So let me talk about where I live. I live in the city of Detroit. That is the country's blackest city in the United States. It's home to Motown, to the Great Migration. My folks came up from Alabama to Michigan during the Great Migration, and Detroit has provided a decisive margin for victory for every Democratic president elected over the last century. Diversity isn't just a word within our city in Detroit. There is like incredible diversity throughout southeastern Michigan, from our folks that are Arab American, from our growing Latino population as well. Detroit, for me, is an iconic city. It is one that, when you hear the name City of Detroit, it represents grit and hard work. It represents toughness and strength. It represents resilience. And there are 700,000 people that call Detroit home, about 10% whom went unaccounted for during the Trump administration census. And that's according to the University of Michigan. But what Detroit really is for me is a city that for over 200 years has served as the birthplace for millions of American dreams. It's a city teeming with culture, progress, opportunity, and a diverse population with a complex history. So let's talk about what's trending for us in our state. Educated suburbs are trending towards Democrats, and I talk about Kent County, which is in the western part of the state, Oakland County, which is in southeastern Michigan. But it's also significant to note that in Grand Traverse, Michigan, Michigan's second largest growing county, the Democratic share of the vote grew by 8 points from 2016 to 2024. The growing strength of Democrats in the suburban areas of Michigan was evident this year, honestly. We had a special election in Senate District 35, which our candidate, Chedrick Green, won victoriously. This race that he was a part of, the DLCC named as the most competitive special election of 2026. Mm-hmm. And he won convincingly by nearly 20 points. Chedrick even exceeded President Obama's 2008 margin in Senate District 35. And during the special general election, his campaign and the Michigan Democratic Party coordinated campaign made 93,290 calls, knocked on 33,000 doors, and had about 8,630 conversations with voters.
Michigan?
This shows real momentum for candidates who lead campaigns that directly speak to voters and champion solutions for those issues. So I'm going to turn it over to
We are at time now and ready for questions from the committee. Thank you very much. Steph?
Thank you for your presentation. Steph Kampai-Wheaton from New Jersey. First, Donna, my dad always says we don't get older, we get more experience. So I don't think y'all are old. I just think you're very, very experienced. But my question that I've asked for every state is, what is the average cost of rent for a month for a one-bedroom apartment in Detroit?
$1,100.
Had that ready to go. Love it.
And I just want to say that we have a long history of supportive housing as well in Michigan. We are We are one of the most affordable in the country for a couple of reasons, but also we have a history of our staff being labor union. So Michigan is one of the only state in 70 years to undo right to work. We have a strong labor union background. My staff at the Michigan Democratic Party is IBW. So is our coordinated team as well. So people make fair wages in Michigan, and there's also supportive housing available for volunteers that come in.
Alicia?
Alicia Andrews from Oklahoma, and my question is regarding diversity. I heard conversation about African Americans, appreciate that, but Michigan has 12 federally recognized tribes.
Yep.
And I didn't see a lot of conversation about how we're going to encourage participation from our Native American community.
Absolutely. It's incredibly important. We have renewed our relationships with our tribal communities. I spent a lot of time with our tribal and Anishinaabe caucus. It's a really key to some of the most important battleground parts of Michigan where they are located. So it's in partnership. It's not us coming in. It's actually working with people from that community. Michigan has had a long history of hiring people from out of state to run our campaigns. We have actually transferred that during our coordinated campaign hiring this year to actually training people on the ground and hiring people from our own communities so that it's not somebody else coming in and telling them how to actually run their campaigns. So that's been really important in the Native American communities and will continue to be as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Michigan. Leah Daughtry from the great state of New York, the Republic of Brooklyn. I want to ask a question. The Trump administration recently announced that they intend to deploy an election integrity army to monitor elections, both the 2026 and going forward. I would expect they'd be particularly active in our quote-unquote battleground states where the margins are close.
100%.
So I'd like to hear from you what you are planning or thinking in terms of voter protection to ensure that the people who we want to vote and need, really all people who want to vote and need to vote, are able to do so in safety and security.
Thank you very much for that question. In Michigan, we are used to attacks on our election integrity. That has been something that we have always been ready for. And so the Michigan Democratic Party has a full-time voter protection unit as part of our campaigns. So it's not all off-year elections and on-year elections. We don't really have off-years anymore. Have voter protection. In Shedrick Green's seat, where we just had that Senate seat up, we had every precinct that had over more than 200 voters had someone there. We had already cured 70% of the ballots going into Election Day. And we have a network of lawyers that are used to going in and suing on our protections. The other thing I would say that's important is we have a Democratic Attorney General who has sued the Trump administration over and over and over again to protect voters' rights. We have a Democratic Secretary of State who has protected our elections time and time again. We will not bow down to the Trump administration. We have a history of fighting back in Michigan, and we will make sure, whether it's through the Michigan Democratic Party or elected officials, that we have safe, secure, and free elections in Michigan in 2024 and 26 and 28. No problem.
Jane?
Thank you, Chair, for your presentation and all of the guests that you brought along with you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. One on voter reg. Talk to me first about how you do partisan voter registration. Do you guys have same day? And then I'm curious how you will use the primary if you get one of the early states to build your party infrastructure to help down ballot candidates as well.
Absolutely. So first off, we don't have partisan voter registration in Michigan. We do have motor voter, and we have a very high voter registration rate, but we also have same-day registration on Election Day. So someone can come to the polls, decide that they want to vote and sign up, and I think it's important. It's absolutely critical for our organizing program to have this kind of energy and excitement going on. I mean, I will say this. those of you that are depressed about what you see around the country, I'd say spend a little time across America talking to the people that actually do the work. People that are disappointed that they lost the last election, that are economically hurting, that are scared and still show up every day to knock a door, to make a phone call, to write a small check. The people that are out there that are fighting back for this country should inspire each and every one of us in the work that we do every single day. It keeps me optimistic in this job. What I would say is that having that energy of people, Democrats fighting across Michigan would be incredibly important. We're not used to being an early state in this process. Our decisions have largely been made for us in the past. And for Michigan, I think this party is going to have one of the most diverse and longer process that many states will matter. And I think that's really good to actually have that going into next year. I think that there are a lot of people who want a decision to be made in this process. But for Michigan voters, those that have worked for years and have won us a Democratic trifecta, have elected an amazing Democratic governor, I think they would love to be part of the process of deciding who the next president would be. It would mean a lot to them and would keep the energy going around the state and would help lean into the already on-the-ground organizing program that we have.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. For the record, my favorite Motown sound was Stop in the Name of Love,
Great one.
1965. I enjoyed it. I can still dance to that music. But my question is similar to Leah, and it has to do with, of course, your state cooperation or non-cooperation with the Justice Department, Homeland Security on securing your voter registration list. It's my understanding that in November last year that the House, your House, the Michigan House, adopted a resolution to turn over all of the so-called unredacted data. So what is the status of that? And
It's dead in the Senate.
okay, good.
It will not be signed by our governor.
All right.
I would also say that we have a 3-seat minority right now in the State House, and we plan on winning it back this election cycle. We feel very good about that. And Matt Hall, who's the current speaker, will be the minority leader or have some other job afterwards if we beat him.
Now, is it true that the Justice Department may take you to the Sixth Circuit to try to force your hand? And the second and last question, are there attempts to try to collect ballots in Wayne County similar to what they did down in Fulton County in Georgia?
They did attempt to do that, although ballots were held in the they sued the city, but they didn't actually go after the county, so they have to actually go to the right place. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, but you know, what do they know about the law? I would also say that Secretary Benson has been a leader in fighting back against the Trump administration, and our Attorney General has beat them every single time when it comes to these issues. So while I understand the concerns about the Trump administration continuing to attack us. Of course they want to attack us. They need to win Michigan if they want to win the presidency. We have stood strong and we will continue to stand strong.
And with regards to your cybersecurity infrastructure, how secure and strong?
Michigan cybersecurity infrastructure, Michigan has full paper ballots. And we feel very strong on our cybersecurity front. And we are, at the state party, invest directly in cybersecurity. We have to deal with every single election cycle.
Lastly, voter purges. Last year, it was reported that over 318,000 folks were purged from the voter rolls. I know some dealt with people moving, but others, I'm still trying to explore on the website and others what happened to those individuals. Do you all try to go back and get them to re-register? What's the process?
Yeah, that is a part of our voter protection unit in Michigan. I feel that in Michigan, actually, we are a really high registration state. And the nice thing about Michigan is that we have same-day registration as well. So even if someone was illegally purged from those rolls, they showed up on election day, they would still be able to get a ballot and still be able to vote.
And no attempt has been made to disenfranchise college students or college campuses by the state or the government, anybody?
No. In fact, Mike Rogers, who's running for our Senate, was only elected to Congress when he was in the legislature because he passed a bill called Senate Bill 306. I was in college at the time. I had more hair. And they did that to make it harder for students to vote on campus. But we undid that both in the propositions passed by our voters to actually extend voting rights to every single citizen in our state, and our legislature that codified those rules afterwards. So we have some of the strongest voter protection laws in the country, and certainly available on college campuses. In fact, at Michigan State University is the largest chapter of College Democrats of America in the country.
I raise all those questions because you're absolutely correct. You all do have one of the best programs in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Stuart?
It's good to see all of you. I'm Stuart Applebaum. I'm from New York, but unlike Leah Daughtry, I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm from Manhattan. In 2024, a significant share of the vote was cast for uncommitted. I wanted to know whether or not you have any thoughts on the process as a result of that vote. Were there any considerations in changing the rules for the primary as a result of a large uncommitted vote?
Let me say a couple things. The first is that I think we, as a party, a place like Michigan where we have a large Arab and large Jewish population is important. I think these conversations should be made early in the process, not late. I think that making sure that everyone is heard is important. But I will also say that I was elected chair with the endorsement of both the Jewish and the Arab caucus. And they are actually working together in Michigan. We just passed a resolution out of our resolutions committee that talks about ending the divisiveness between these groups and focusing on the things that we agree on. And at the end of the day, if this president isn't enough to oppose and be able to work together, then I'm not sure what would drive that more. But more importantly, that we are all focused on the affordability of housing. We are all focused on the ability to lower the cost to raise a family, to lower the cost of prescription drugs, to provide health care access to everybody. And those are things that Jewish voters and Arab voters can both agree on. And they're working together right now in order to get Democrats elected across our state. So I understand what happened in 2024. I think that what it takes is a willingness to listen and be part of the process and give a voice to everybody. That's what we've done in the Michigan Democratic Party. And I think we've got people working together again because of it.
Thank you. Andre?
Thank you. Andre Schreiber from Texas. I have a question regarding candidate access to candidate ballot access. So reading from your application, Secretary of State creates a list that is compiled from folks that, gain media attention, basically. The chair is then able to follow up and add to that list. I think a lot of us are probably anticipating in 2028, pretty big field.
Yeah.
We'll probably expect a lot of candidates, and many of those candidates, when they jump in, are probably not going to be jumping in with a big number of polling, 0%, 1% kind of thing. So my two questions are, first, what is the deadline to get onto those lists to actually appear on the ballot? The deadline for someone to have caught enough fire to be considered major? And then secondly, I was wondering if, and especially if you have any examples, this would help, in practice, what is that threshold for someone to be considered a major candidate for ballot access?
That's a great question. I, as chair, believe that we should have as many voices as possible. And so, as chair of the party, if I'm still chair of the party, and I got to get reelected too, I'm an elected official, I would be pushing for as liberal interpretation of that as possible, because I think that we want people to be able to have their voices in that process. But we'll get you information of what it's been in the past, for sure. Thank you.
Frank?
Yeah, Frank Leone, D.C. Last cycle, Michigan enacted a statute providing for the state primary, and that would provide in 2028 a primary date of February 22nd, if I did my math properly. Are there any anticipated changes to that date or other changes in the primary statute?
So we're interested in being in the early window. The order, and we're not asking to be first, but the order is set by you, not us. So At the end of the day, we plan on having our trifecta again after this election. We feel strongly that we're going to take the state house back again. We're only down by 3 seats. Polling currently shows the generic congressional and legislative in Michigan is +8. That would be enough to get into the 60s. So I feel comfortable about where we are in terms of that process. And whatever this committee decides, we will change the election date too. We don't think that state law preempts the judgment of this committee. I think if it did, that would be problematic because every state would move forward with their own laws. So we respect what this committee does, and we will figure out how to change the law to whatever point we have to because of it.
Thank you. Indira?
Sorry. This is Indira de Girala. I'm from Colorado. Thank you so much for your presentation, and appreciate Stuart Applebaum for his question and how open you were with your forthright with your answers you were. Considering how the other side is weaponizing religion against our base, it looks like you all have taken steps in building bridges. What are some concrete steps that you as a party or state party taking in building more year-round organizing around faith-based organizations, and how do you think a presidential candidate might benefit from engaging in that specific space?
Yeah, I would say this, that we didn't lose Michigan for any one reason, and I don't need, I think that you can look at pretty specifically, Michigan bled in 79 out of 83 counties last election cycle, and I think that it's partially, I'm going to get to your question, I'm sorry, I just want to, go ahead.
I'm also a co-chair of the DNC Interfaith Council, so
Makes total sense.
That's the context of my question.
Makes total sense. I just think that sometimes media likes to tell a narrative about what happened in Michigan, and I think it's important to remember that there are lots of reasons when it's that close why things went the wrong way. But I will say this: we have built new relationships with our faith community throughout the state. I think it's incredibly important. I spend more times at religious celebrations across the state of all of our different religions to build those relationships in a matter of respect in Michigan. And we're a diverse state religiously as well. I mean, we have a strong Muslim but strong Jewish population. We have a large Sikh population in Lansing. We have a large population of all different kinds of faith, and so it's important for us to be respectful of that. We have built a network that people can plug into of county parties and partnerships in faith, and we've also opened the Detroit office for the first time in more than 2 decades to actually build relationships there as well, because we bled there as well. And one of the things we're working on with our faith-based community is we now have a food pantry in our Detroit office to help. Though we're not just trying to get people's votes. We're trying to also serve people as well, which I think is something the Democratic Party has to get back to.
Thank you. Jamie?
Thank you. Jamie Selzler, North Dakota. Love Michigan. I just spent 2 days hiking in the UP this weekend.
Fantastic. One of my favorite places.
There are no Trump signs, so whatever you're doing is working up there, so keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk about great application. You talk about affordability in there. I want you to kind of talk about whether it truly is affordable or not. The Detroit market is a little pricey, double the cost of the other markets in the state, double the cost of Des Moines, for example. And I wonder if this will be not a Michigan primary, but a Detroit primary based on where all the money will go, and that's where all the people are. What will the party do to ensure that the rest of the state that is other types of folks and other cities and everything are also treated equally?
So I would say a couple things with that. The first is that our media market, point per media dollars, is actually less than Colorado, it's less than Illinois, it's less than Minnesota. And we have 7 actual major media markets. And while Detroit is certainly a very important part of the Michigan coalition, you can't just win Michigan through Detroit. You have to do it on the ground, and you have to do it in all those other communities as well. So I think it's important to do that. But you're right. Our media ranges from very expensive in Detroit, much less in Chicago, but very expensive in Detroit, to Traverse City, where you can buy TV for, a fifth of that and talk to a large swath of the state as well. I will also tell you that Michigan has a strong background in electing candidates who spent less money. So, for example, Jesse Jackson won Michigan. Bernie Sanders won Michigan in 2016. We have a history of people doing it through grassroots campaigning and winning in Michigan. So you don't have to spend the most money to win in Michigan, and I think that we've proven that here. Thank you.
Andre?
Somebody want to let Joe talk?
Andre Washington from Ohio. I just want to make just a quick comment because I'd like to talk to you offline about your pantry in Detroit.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that because I was always taught the service is the rent that you pay for room here on earth, and you pay your rent through service to the community. So I just wanted to say that you should be applauded for that. So, but I would like to talk more offline about this.
Yeah, I want you to come down to our
do.
Detroit office, actually. For the Juneteenth celebration, we're actually having a carnival in the back. After the election, we have our precinct delegates. We're doing I like to barbecue. I do a fundraiser at in my backyard that raises $150,000 for the party, and I do all the cooking. Cook gumbo. Those of you from down south, yes, I know how to. I might not look like it, but I know how to cook a mean gumbo. And I smoke 40 pounds of pork, make macaroni and cheese from scratch. And we have this fundraiser that we do in my backyard, but we're going to do it for precinct delegates this year as well in our Detroit office in a big space that we have in the back of that. And I think it's really just trying to make people feel like they matter again and reminding people that the work that they do. I want to build a state party that honors the work that people do on the ground. I think that's what's important in our state parties across the country.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think that concludes the questions and the presentation. Thank you very much for a very thorough
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Since I'm not shy, I just wanted to say that I want to happy birthday again to Gary, and Michigan is America. And my birthday's tomorrow. This would be a great present. Thank you.